Hey everybody, welcome to Gootz's Disney Pod. It is the Star Wars Season 5 finale. We're finally up to the rise of Skywalker. Joining me is the returning guest, Jordon Ferber. Jordon, how are you?
Oh boy, am I happy to be here. I am. Listen, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. I love Star Wars. I've been a Star Wars guy from the get. I'm very disappointed I had to watch this movie again.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sorry
But
about that.
at the very least, I'm allowed to, pontificate on all the reasons why I think it was a terrible movie.
Yes, we get to talk about that. Before we get into Rise of Skywalker, Jordan, the last time you were here, we were talking to Big Hero 6. It was September of 2020. What have you been up to since then?
Well, I just had a whirlwind of a month. I was just out in Hawaii, actually, giving a keynote speech at a bereavement conference in March, just last month. So that's kind of been what I've been working towards. I feel like, you had me on Big Hero 6 because it dealt with sibling loss, and
Mhm.
I've been doing my podcast, Where's the Grief, for I don't know, about 6 years. And I've been talking a lot more about the grief stuff. I feel like when I started doing that podcast is when I feel like I came out as a bereaved person
Mhm.
in doing that show, really melding my comedy and my tragedy careers. Which had been parallel but separate and are
Yep.
now merged in that way. And it's been exciting to be able to give voice to a lot of the stuff that most of us don't really talk about with frequency. Um,
They
and
don't like you talking about it. Most people, they're just like, "Well, that's it. Time to move on." You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked often about how comedy saved my life, partially because comedians are willing to talk with you about just about anything, and finding the humor and the ironies and the frustrations and the things that we can, you know, lampoon or point out the absurdities of things. I
Mhm.
think comedians have been very helpful in my process of a lot of things. And quite honestly, the bit that I've been doing lately is, comedy is probably the only place where you can talk about mental health
Yes.
these
Mhm.
days.
Can't talk about it anywhere else. Can't talk about the Oscars. They'll punch you right in the head.
But yeah, it's been an exciting year of getting back to any kind of normality, but also working on a lot of new stuff that has really helped keep me involved in life and with people. And I'm excited about what I have coming up and all that.
That's great. And what is your? You said you're a big Star Wars guy. Tell me about your history with Star Wars. You know, growing up and stuff. Was it big for you?
It was very big.
Hmm.
So I was actually in a local television commercial when I was like 8 years old for a local video store.
Okay.
The video store in my parents' neighborhood was called New Video, and they did all these commercials on cable where they would have people that were regulars at the store, and they interviewed them about their favorite movies, and then they cut it all together. So there were different clips of people talking about their favorite movies and stuff. And I'm 8 years old in it or something, and I tell the camera, like, I've seen Star Wars thousands of times, is what I said, which is
Okay.
not possible at 8 years old. It's more
No,
possible now.
it might be. Yes. Especially with Disney Plus and everything.
But I was always a big Star Wars guy. Always, yeah. Used to have whatever stick I had available would be my lightsaber, and doing all the sound effects.
Hmm.
Big fan, and of course, I was also a big Sesame Street guy. So having the voice of Grover be the voice of Yoda was a nice connection. That
Double. That's a double victory for
it
you.
really brought my childhood into adulthood in a way.
Hmm.
That it was the same voice.
Now, let me ask you this, Jay Ferbs. Were you into the books and the video games, and the comics, or were you just a movie guy?
I was mostly just a movie guy. I got into the video games a little bit. I read some of the comics. I actually really liked the Dark Empire storyline that was in the comics that they came out with, that was supposedly going to be episodes
7, 8, 9.
7, 8, and 9. I liked that storyline a lot better than what they ended up coming out with. But
Yeah.
I found that some of that stuff intriguing. I didn't get too far into reading a lot of that stuff though, because I know there was a lot.
Yes,
And
there is a lot, and it's way better than anything we got in movies. But there is a lot. I mean, they have Han and Leia have 3 kids.
right.
One of the kids dies. Luke has a son. Luke's son. The son of Han does turn evil though, but they've got a sister who they do battle with.
Right.
But Luke is not a coward. He actually successfully trains new Jedi's. There's new Sith. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, very. I thought that stuff was more intriguing and more interesting than what this was. But you know, I'm a I'm a huge proponent. There was a movie that came out a number of years ago called "The People versus George Lucas,"
Yes.
and it was all about people's grievances with the fact that with the prequels, ironically enough.
Mhm.
But the thing that they said was that George Lucas gave this technology to the world, and he did not press charges or do a lot of copyright infringement when fans were making their own things. And he created this universe that we all grew up with, that we feel so strongly about, which is why a lot of our opinions about what they ended up doing with these movies is so vehement. But I think really he created this universe that allowed us to play around in, and we've continued to play around in it ever since. I think that there's a lot of fan fiction and a lot of speculation, and I think there's so much joy that Star Wars has brought to us over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of joy. Those first three movies are they're so quotable, they're so rewatchable. You could watch them till the cows come home. And even like the comic books and the figures, it's just there's so much great stuff that comes from it. And then the prequels showed up. Now, what was your opinion of the prequels before these new movies showed up? So when you went to go see the prequels, what were you thinking? What was your first thoughts?
Well, the first one was first of all, the prequels were those kinds of movies where you really wanted to like them so much that I think we all I think we all watched those, especially the first one with rose-colored glasses. That first watching it, we took I think it wasn't until the whole series came out that we realized that the Phantom Menace was a terrible movie.
Kind of like Force Awakens now, where you're like, oh, yeah, that's not very good.
Yeah, I remember going to see it in the theater, the first, the Force Awakens, Phantom Menace, and that the thing that I think has carried all the movies since the originals is the music. I mean, John Williams is a genius, and he's made all of these movies eminently more watchable. I think the music really helped.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There are a handful of things that I really dislike about the Phantom Menace, but there are definitely parts of it that I still enjoy. I thought Liam Neeson was great. I really hate the fact that supposedly that Anakin Skywalker built C-3PO as a child. Like, that's one of the few things that really disappoints me.
That I can't look past that, because that just kind of breaks the series. And he invented this robot that goes on these adventures that wind up destroying him and his empire. Like,
and then they see
the robot to look for it.
And then in Empire Strikes Back, they see another robot that's the same robot. So obviously they came off an assembly line at some point.
He just never kind of questions, like, is that my C-3PO?
Right.
Yeah. Well, Darth does see C-3PO in Cloud City.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just isn't even like, that's weird that the robot I built as a kid, a feminine feminine gay robot that I wanted as a kid, is now hanging around this smuggler and this princess. Really weird.
Yeah, it is very weird. I mean, there was another robot. There was another C unit in the Cloud City.
Do you think when Darth got power, he started a corporation on the side for like these protocol droids? I got this great idea. Emperor Palpatine will have these droids that can translate.
I mean, he was a Dark Lord and he was a Sith, but he was still an engineer at heart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are things you have to figure out. You can't just be screaming the dark side all day. You also got to figure out the budget. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That I do want to see, by the way, a scene where Palpatine is just having a meeting about like the budget and the agriculture and stuff like that. Because like Palpatine, even when he's the Emperor, has to have those meetings. Yes, good. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Give some more funds to the unemployment on Yavin, and like
Yeah, they got a lot of people to sign up for the Empire, but they don't tell you what any of the benefits are.
yeah. So there had to be like at some point he has to have a meeting like that. So yeah. So now when they first announced these new movies, what was your feeling? Were you excited? Were you like, not this again? Or
Oh no, I was pretty excited.
Mhm.
I was very excited. I was excited. I was even excited for this movie after having seen the dumpster fire of The Last Jedi. I was like, I'm sure I saw
Yeah,
this movie twice in the theaters.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
So what?
hoping the second time would be better.
No.
It was
Um,
I went I saw it the second time at the Alamo Draft House, so I got drunk during it, so it was marginally
which
better.
one do you like better, this or Last Jedi?
Oh boy, I'd rather cut off my hand than answer that question.
I like this one better. Because I kind of feel like this one, it's the visually is more like Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, this movie felt more like a Star Wars movie
Mhm.
for sure. Um,
Still not very good.
they're just it just feels like they really crammed so many things into this movie to try to make it make sense and fit with the other two with the other movie. I really it's bad though. I mean, there's so much that doesn't make sense, and they're just like, well, why does it have to make sense? It's Star Wars.
Well, Star Wars because the first three movies make sense.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with the prequels. It's like it's almost like they waited until the end of Revenge of the Sith to be like, oh yeah, it's supposed to fit with this thing, but oh, we didn't do it right.
Yeah.
It's something's off.
Well, let's break it down real quick. So the first movie, there's this girl Ray, and she's this mysterious girl. Somehow she gets caught up in Finn's adventure. They meet Han Solo. She winds up meeting Kylo Ren. She kind of learns on her own that she has the Force. She gets called to Luke's lightsaber, which they've never explained, by the way.
Right.
Had they ever explained why Luke Skywalker was like calling to her at this Maz woman's fucking bar? No.
Yeah, no.
It just gets called to her. And we find out she's a Jedi. She brings Luke's lightsaber and she to Luke to kind of give him the help. That's how the first movie ends. Second movie starts. Luke doesn't want to help. Luke is like, fuck all this.
Yeah.
We find out her parents were no one. They're just drunks because she has some sort of connection with Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren takes over the entire First Order, basically becomes Hitler, becomes more, now he's more powerful than Darth Vader because he took out his master. And he's basically the most evil, most powerful person in the galaxy. And the next movie starts, and he's not that at all.
Yeah.
He's that doesn't come into play. He finds out that Palpatine is still alive. No explanation in the movie why he's still alive. No explanation of why Palpatine used Snoke to manipulate Kylo Ren. And also, Palpatine doesn't seem to really be interested in the fact that he now has Darth Vader's grandson, and the fucking guy is fully corrupted. He's still like, do this, do that. No, you already got the dude. He fucking killed his dad and his master. He's fully there. He's where you wanted Anakin to be, but there's still, it's just so fucking, the beginning is just like, oh, so he's not evil. He's not the ultimate evil. He's still a confused kid. I don't understand. He didn't seem confused when he was killing Luke. He was trying to kill Luke Skywalker.
Right. It did not seem confused.
No, but now he's confused again, and now Palpatine's in charge. He's been secretly in charge the entire time, and now there's another. They have to go on another quest for another map. I just watched this last night, and so they have to go on another quest to find Palpatine or to find his. What are they trying to find? His Harry Potter Horcruxes? What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. They have to stand on this one ledge and hope that the ravages of time haven't moved the Death Star too far out of whack, that the thing on the sword still actually matches up with the thing in the water.
And they've got 16 hours to do this. It's so they go on this adventure.
And I don't understand how Kylo Ren just shows up there. Like he's just there.
I think it's his connection with Ray.
No, but
Makes
he's
sense.
fighting with her the whole time, and Finn sees him. They all, Finn and the girls see him in the water
Oh yeah.
when they're fighting on that bridge. He's just there.
Well, I think can't she pull him to his side, or can't they
I don't know
transfer
that
objects to each other?
that's one of the things that they don't really.
They
There are
don't. Yeah, we
so
don't really.
there are so many things in this movie, particularly, that they just don't explain, or that they use to explain. Like, oh yeah, of course they have those powers too.
Yeah.
Like all extra powers just write themselves out of a corner, and
Well,
it's
now
such
they can
lazy.
heal. They can heal, which would have came in handy a lot of times in the prequels. I mean,
Right?
Liam Neeson could have used some of that healing. Who
Yeah.
taught them how to heal? Who the fuck? Why didn't they do that to poor Liam, poor Qui-Gon?
How come we didn't do that to Anakin's mother?
Yeah, how come he didn't? So okay, so Leah's been training Ray. Now here's where I have a problem. I also don't. The family, particularly the daughter, gave permission for them to use outtakes to put Leah in the movie. And I'm not gonna. And as you know, bereavement is a long process. The daughter lost her mom and her grandmother. I'm not gonna criticize her for wanting her mom to have one last hurrah.
I
So
would have been nice. I would have happily seen Doris Roberts in there.
yes. So I'm not going to criticize that because I'm sure she was thrilled to see her mom on the screen again. And I think they even have a scene where she hugs her mom in the movie.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. But on the other hand, on the non sympathy side, it looks terrible. It doesn't look realistic. Ray will say something to Carrie Fisher and they'll just use an outtake of her standing there confused. Probably it was Carrie Fisher waiting for her cue. And they just took the footage.
Right.
And it doesn't really mesh up well. And she goes master to Leah, and Leah just kind of stands there like a robot. It was. I get that they wanted Leah to have a bigger role, and I would have loved it if Carrie Fisher was alive. I would have loved Carrie Fisher to have picked up a lightsaber or use some force pushes in these movies. And it sucks that she died, but it does come across very, very weird. A lot of the Leah stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching some of the making of this movie, which somehow is same length as the movie, is the making of it. And they talk a lot about that, about how they had to scrap a lot of what they had written in order to use these scenes that were basically outtakes from Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
And write dialogue that fit around what they had.
Yeah.
I found that to be the least jarring part of the movie for me. Like those parts, I actually found to be the least upsetting.
Okay. Well, my thing is, I just read her book, and her book, Wishful Drinking.
Okay.
And I kind of wish they didn't give Leah any of her sarcasm or wit in these movies. She's kind of just standing there a lot of the time in the new ones.
Yeah.
And I get that. I think, Carrie Fisher hadn't been in these big tent poles, or, you know what I mean? Like in years. And I think probably maybe she had stage fright. Maybe she didn't. But I really would have liked it if when they had her alive, they gave her stuff to work with.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, what a waste of bringing back these three actors, because they gave them nothing really interesting to do.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of a little bit like that, I guess. I guess you could say that. I mean, yeah, I would say that's probably true. They really just gave them each some pretty two-dimensional character work.
None of them really had like an arc. Even Leia and Han don't really seem to be that broken up about their son basically becoming Darth Vader. I mean, even in Last Jedi, she was like, "Oh, I lost my son a long time ago," and she just moves on. It's like, you're literally fighting an intergalactic war with your son. You achieved peace in the galaxy, and your son took it away. You should have a bit of more reaction to that.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. And maybe it's just like she just couldn't pull it off because maybe she hadn't acted in big roles in so long. Maybe she just didn't have it in her anymore as an actress. But I just would have loved her to have more to do. But it's fine. I get, it's not. But it was kind of jarring, some of that stuff, some of those cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's there was just so much. This movie is like pure fan service. It was almost like they didn't.
But bad.
Yeah. Like we'll fit all this fan service in, and then we'll figure out the plot later. We'll hire. I feel like there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah, and so they go around. They first go to Desert Planet. They find Londo, who they gave next to nothing to do. When I saw in the trailer the shot of Londo in the Millennium Falcon with Chewbacca, and he's going woohoo! I'm like, oh wow, maybe they'll give Londo. Maybe they learn their mistakes, and they'll have Billy D. Williams whooping ass in the Millennium Falcon, and he does nothing.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen Billy D. Williams in a lot lately. I don't even know. I don't know if he can do much. It seems like he's good at sitting and standing.
Well, all you gotta do with the Millennium Falcon is sit and yell orders at Chewbacca, and you can have little fun little chase scene. All you gotta do is I'm Chewbacca. I'm trying. Hit the warp drive. I don't know. Get these TIE fighters off me. Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a flank to your left. Finn, you better take out those TIE fighters. There you go. Billy D. Williams can do that.
I mean, there's so many things they had to try to fix from Last Jedi. Like there's so many loose ends and things that they felt like they had to address in order to steer the course back to what they wanted to try to do. That I feel like they really didn't spend that much time trying to actually flesh out what it was they wanted to talk about.
Yeah, there's that character who is Oscar Isaac's ex-girlfriend, who's played by Kerry Russell from Felicity. She shows up. And in my head, I hadn't seen the movie in 2 years. I thought she joined them on the adventure, and she's barely in the movie.
Yeah.
And the same thing could be said about the girl who they have horses that they ride on top of a spaceship.
Space horses.
Yes, and I thought she was in the movie more, and she's not in it that much. And even her backstory, they bring up this we're all former stormtroopers, and then they just don't go anywhere with it.
Yeah.
And it's why even bring you have so much ground to cover now. You brought in this character and you don't do anything with her. Say what you will about the Ewoks, whether you like them or you hate them. They are brought in and given an arc and character development. They're not just here's some Ewoks and then they just move on with the movie.
Right. No, that they were written in as a cash grab to make the toys for sure. And to make it more family friendly, but they were an integral part of the third act of that movie.
Yeah, there's a reason why those characters are introduced. They're not just there to be. And I felt like with the two female characters, they were just here's some more female characters.
And as unwatchable as the Ewok movie is, Caravan of Courage or whatever, we all remember that his name is Wicket.
Yes, I can't remember these two women's names.
Exactly.
I should look. What a terrible podcast. I should have this, but I just, you know what? No, they don't deserve to have their names remembered.
The same thing with the Asian girl. I don't understand what they brought her in for. It's basically just so Finn has somebody to talk to about his frustrations and his psyche.
Well,
I thought there was going to be a love interest there based on what happened in the Last Jedi, but then not.
No, and then she really only has 2 or 3 scenes. She doesn't really do a lot. And
then he meets this black girl that's also a former stormtrooper. Maybe there's a connection there, but no, he's trying to. Every time he has a moment with Rey, he's about to tell her that he loves her, but he's I'll wait till later.
Yeah, and I also think aren't they kind of teasing that Oscar Isaac might want to bang her too?
Yeah,
they had a kind of Cagney and Lacey, Humphrey Bogart, they had Audrey Hepburn, Bogart and Bacall. I don't forget the couple, but this whole fighting, but they also kind of like each other. You're intolerable. No, you're intolerable. By the way, no real people act like that. If you and a woman start yelling at each other that you work together, you just stay away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. This guy's just yelling at me and I'm yelling at him. But yeah, they kind of do that and then they don't go there. And even Huxley was basically the Hitler Youth. For the first 2 movies, he's the one who screams fire the laser that destroys the whole planet. And now we're supposed to like him because he betrays the First Order. And they're like, why you betray us? Oh, I hate Kylo Ren. And they don't go down that road. But apparently you and Kylo Ren are on the same path. They
don't explain anything at all.
Yeah, and then they just shoot him. So when they release the trailer, they shoot him. And then this guy who looks like an extra from Game of Thrones or World War II movie is now the Emperor's right-hand man.
Right, Richard Grant.
And yeah, he's been in contact with Palpatine. And now Palpatine has the final order So there was a first order, now a final order. You didn't want to have a second order in there or a third order, or
Yeah, I mean, because as far as I'm concerned, they definitely screwed up my order.
yeah. Well, I'm just wondering why. I still don't know why they call it the first order. I thought they were going to explain it eventually, but
Yeah, I guess not.
I guess not.
I mean, of all the things to nitpick about, that's really like the bottom of the list.
Yeah, so she finds, and I thought they're not on Endor, are they? So she finds the throne room where Darth Vader and Luke fought. Apparently, it didn't land on Endor. Was that Endor?
So that was on in a system of it's the Endor system, right? I think that's what they mentioned. It's not the same planet that
So it's a planet near that planet.
it's in another planet in that system.
Okay, so she finds the throne room. Her and
And it's been underwater for 20 years, but that one door opens anyway.
yeah. Well, hey, you got to give the Empire credit. They built things to last.
I guess, and it's but apparently that doorway leads to a similar thing as the giant tree in the Dagobah system that Yoda has.
Yes, she
Like
sees.
they both have a portal to their inner psyche.
Yeah, I don't know why. How come fucking Palpatine didn't just shove Luke into the inner psyche portal to fucking
Right?
break? It was very So they do battle. In the middle of the battle, Leia dies, and Kylo stops fighting, and then Rey heals him because I don't know why. She literally is trying to kill this guy the entire movie. He's told her a lot of fucked up shit that he's gonna do. And then she kills him. Oh, by the way, I also forgot he rebuilds his mask. He glues it together with
Right.
space glue.
He does the Jedi version of Kinsuki,
Yeah.
whatever it is. They were talking about it in the making of that. That's what they based it off of. The Japanese art of repairing porcelain with gold, so that you highlight.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So that was space glue. Oh boy. Okay. So Kylo gets healed. I don't know why he decides to heal him in that moment. I mean, he's basically, again, he's Space Hitler. He's Space Hitler.
I got to tell you, I thought he was a very good villain in the first movie. I thought in Force Awakens that he
Even
was
in Last Jedi, he's good as a villain.
He's a good villain.
Then they just completely, he doesn't. That's the other thing too. He doesn't earn his redemption.
Right.
What he said his mom died, so now he got to forgive the fact that he's murdered all the. How many countless people has? I mean, he murdered a whole village to start the first movie.
Yeah,
he murdered his dad. He's just not he's not a good guy. He unflinchingly has accepted the dark side, which kind of made the character interesting to me in the first movie. Because like where Luke rejected Darth, fucking Kylo is running right towards the dark side. There's no hesitancy there. And he killed his dad and he killed his master. He achieved what Palpatine wanted from Vader and Luke. But even though he does it, he still can come back. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How come Palpatine can't come back?
They explain so little about how he comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. How come Palpatine can't just be like one day, oh, I feel bad. You know what?
I mean, that's why I liked the Dark Empire's comic series, because they talk about how Palpatine has like dozens of clones of himself. So, just in case. And that's how he comes back. But it doesn't make any sense that he's back in this movie and that he's been underground building this fleet that nobody knows about. All of a sudden, he's just got this huge fleet. Where do all these other stormtroopers come from?
And who are these people in the theater watching him?
Yeah, exactly.
He has his own comedy show going on. He has a crowd and a wait staff and a 2-drink minimum, and they're watching the Rey. Like, where did those people come from? And the other thing too, so they don't tell you who Palpatine's son is. Now, here's the deal.
Right. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, obviously, when he was a senator, he was banging. I mean, he was.
Well, in the novelization, they say it was a failed clone, correct? So he had a failed clone that somehow escaped and banged some woman and had a kid. That's what the novelization said. But
for this movie.
Yes, for this movie, yes.
Okay.
Which they don't tell you. So, but if he had a son, why the fuck would he need to corrupt the Skywalkers? Why would he need to corrupt Anakin Skywalker if he had a son? Because clearly his bloodline is more powerful than the Skywalker line. because his fucking granddaughter just knows the Force. She just sees the Force once and can master it. She gets a lightsaber in her hands. She's fucking Darth Maul. So why did he even need to go after the Skywalkers if he has this clone? If he has these clones that work, and then if he did fuck, let's say he did fuck and he had a kid again. Why do you need Anakin? Once Anakin's dying in the lava, just let him die and go get your son.
I mean, it's possible he didn't know that he had kids. He was probably, who knows where he was spreading his seed throughout the galaxy as a senator.
But you see how this, like, because at the end of the movie, he doesn't care about Kylo Ren. He wants fucking Padme, Rey. He wants Rey to be his apprentice. He's kill me, da da da. And then the other thing is like, well, you can't kill Palpatine, but you're killing everyone else. Why is it when you kill Palpatine? They don't explain anything. They contradict the first movie, the second movie. They contradict the second movie, the third movie. But then they don't answer anything. They don't answer a goddamn fucking thing. And it's like, I don't even know, where did these ships come from that Lando got?
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. What did he do? Put out a Facebook message?
I mean, that's what they say in the movie. Oh, go to one of the main planets and put out the word.
Okay, so I guess he did put out a Facebook message.
That's essentially what he did.
Yeah. It's just a lot, and it's a long movie, and it's never boring. It keeps moving, but like it has so much ground to cover.
That's the thing. I think that might be actually one of its downfalls. Is like they cram so much in.
Yeah.
They explain nothing, but it moves so fast that you don't even have chance to question it before they're on to the next thing that you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like where is any of this coming from?
Like, I don't have a problem with the Rey Kylo like mind connection,
okay,
where they can communicate. Like I'm willing to buy that. That's as far as I'm willing to go.
Mm-hmm.
I do not buy them being able to see where they're at, like being able to transfer physical things.
Yeah, that or the healing thing. I don't
or the healing thing. But like the fact that the scene where she's in his quarters on the ship and he's on some planet and they're basically fighting and they're destroying things around them and they can see that scene just ugh. And they do it again at the end when they're fighting against Palpatine. Like she puts the cyber behind her back and then he pulls it out from behind his, like, oh, where, what?
Yeah,
that's not even, not even they explain that not at all. It's not even a power. I don't know what that is.
This whole like love angle, even when they kind of started in Last Jedi where they're kind of bonding. He just murdered his dad. I don't think anyone's going to connect with a guy. If you watch a dude murder his own dad, you're not going to connect with him. There's no like way of being like, oh, even though like you killed your dad, let's talk. Like, because we both know about the Force. Like,
I don't know. There are women out there who are bad at picking men. They like the dangerous men. I don't know. Guys like that always end up having some girl. I
guess it's sexy to murder your dad. So
fucking Michael Corleone over here. Just this one time, I'll allow you to ask me about my business, Kay. This one time.
I know, but he murdered his brother. But brother's different than your dad. Your dad's your dad. Your brother. Oh, sorry. I know you lost your brother, but you didn't kill him. So you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, brother. You know what I'm saying.
Do. I get you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can forgive murdering the brother because brothers. I mean, I know a lot more stories about brothers and sisters that fuck each other over than parents. But I don't know. It's just like once you murder your family member. Just why talk to this is supposed to be Star Wars. Supposed to believe in these people.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing about the original trilogy that's so great is, and George Lucas has said it himself, that it is the hero's journey set out by Joseph Campbell, which, has a pretty well-defined structure.
Mm-hmm.
And this series, it's almost like they're like, well, we'll use elements of that. But
I don't think they thought about that. I think I don't even know what her journey is because she's already good. She doesn't like. She has no regret about just murdering her grandfather, whereas Luke is like, "You're my dad." You know what I mean? Like, like she has no connection to this guy. She doesn't want a connection. Doesn't even have like there's just none of that. If you want to start, if you had in your head like she's Palpatine's granddaughter and you want to like explore that, that's fine. But like, I don't know. It would have been like, it's just like we're not supposed to ever like treat Palpatine like a real person like we are with every other character in the saga. He's just supposed to be this evil sack of shit. And I don't know. It just I don't know. It just there's just like a lot in these three movies that they're just bad. They just are three.
He's Palpatine is a pretty interesting character in the prequels,
and also the Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting watching those movies as somebody that watched the original movies, and knowing that Emperor Palpatine is the senator and the chancellor, or whatever they call him. I think it's weird for kids that grew up, in a different era where they may have watched the prequels first. And, in a sense, the prequels and the originals, like it's more of a story about Palpatine and Vader than it is about Luke.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, the prequels are about Palpatine. If you really just pay attention to the Palpatine scenes, he's just winning the entire three movies.
Yeah.
He's just whooping ass. That's all he's doing. And it's kind of fun when you just watch his scenes, pay attention to what he's doing. It's like, oh, he's playing all these fucking idiots, which is kind of fun. And I don't know, like to bring him back in this one. And I'm not saying you shouldn't bring him back. They should have done it better. It's just Last Jedi just doesn't connect to these two movies. Just doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Last Jedi is bad for so many reasons. I mean,
Yes.
Mark Hamill said it to Rian Johnson. He was like, I disagree with every decision, every choice you've made for this character. Now let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that Luke Skywalker would say that. Luke Skywalker wouldn't do this or that, but let's film it anyway. See how it happens,
Yeah, and it was terrible. It wasn't a good movie. It has I when I rewatched it recently, I was like, this movie has a swag. It thinks it's a great movie. Like it has this swag of like Godfather 2 or fucking Goodfellas, but it's a big piece of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it has like this confidence in it that I don't see even in this movie.
Well, I feel like I'm watching the making of the movie. I'm watching like Jim Abrams, J.J. Abrams, talking about all of the legacy stuff that he's trying to bring to the movie, and the immense pressure of tying up the series and everything. And it's like, okay, I could see that in individual scenes and like setting up these big set pieces, but did you spend any time on this fucking script? Like this doesn't make any sense. It's so. I really feel like they spent so much time trying to have the look of it be right and the feel of certain things to be right, but the writing was just very lazy.
Yeah, the thing about it is like he doesn't need to wrap this saga up. The saga was wrapped up in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So when you are restarting this, there's no like thread that Return of the Jedi leaves that you need to pick up that we've all been sitting around wondering about. So when you're going to restart, you can do 7, 8, 9, but there needs to be a reason. There needs to be a theme. Like, what is the theme that you need a third trilogy? Because the first 6 movies are about Anakin's rise and fall and redemption. So what are these movies going to be about? Because you're almost restarting it, and I almost feel like this should have been setting up 10, 11, 12. Like it should have been a separate 2 trilogies that tell a different story. Then we're gonna wrap up there's no reason to wrap up a story. The story was wrapped up. You're restarting the story is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would I have to conclude the saga? No, you don't, because it was concluded. What you guys are doing is just kind of shitting on what Lucas did and kind of shitting on this saga for no reason. And you just have this disjointed. It's not a coherent story. The characters are inconsistent throughout. It's all over the place, and it's a mess, and it doesn't hold up. I mean, how bad are these movies going to look 10 years from now? I mean, it's only been 2-3 years since the movie came out, and it's aged like fucking milk.
Yeah, this movie is it's almost unwatchable. I mean, the opening scroll, the
Yeah.
opening scroll in the
The dead
beginning,
speak. Like what?
it's just too much exposition.
Yeah,
Too
yeah.
much.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing. The big transmission that fucking Emperor Palpatine puts out, which we don't hear in the movie, is in Fortnite. You had to be playing Fortnite 2 days before the movie came out to hear a Palpatine's "I'm alive" and which
Right.
Kylo Ren reacts to. Like, are you out of your mind? You're gonna put that in Fortnite? This is a plot point of a fucking movie. This is like probably the most important plot point, and it's in Fortnite. Fortnite. It's not even connected. I mean, one thing if it's in the Star Wars video game. All right, I'll kind of give you slack on that, but it's in Fortnite.
Yeah. It's disappointing on so many levels.
Yeah, yeah. I just, oh my god.
I mean, also there's also this idea that is it? I mean, they could have done a much better job, I think, but I almost think that these movies they couldn't reach the ideal that would have satisfied us. I don't think, like, for exactly the reason that you're saying, this is not a story that needed to be told. They should have started maybe a new story.
Well, I think what I was excited for when they announced these movies was I was excited to see the original cast back together, which is Luke, Han, Leia, Lando, maybe not Lando, you can take or leave him, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2, in the Millennium Falcon, kicking ass. That's all I wanted. Like, the reason why those movies are more fun than the prequels are those characters. Those characters going to adventures is fun. Let's have them go on one last adventure. And when they announced that everyone was back, I was like, this is going to be great. I can't wait to see them together. And then they didn't do that. Those actors are never in the same scene. Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill are never in the same scene together. And
right,
it was just so disappointing. It's like, that's why those movies worked. I want to see these people again. This is great. You have new kids. That's not why the movie worked. You can't just shove anyone in these properties. These properties worked because of the people in them. It's not like Superman or Lord of the Rings or Batman. I would surmise you can put 30 actors in a Batman suit and get 30 good to great Batman movies, because the elements of what make Batman work are in 1,000 or millions of Batman fucking comics that are out right now. You know what I'm saying? So just take them but the reason why Star Wars works is those actors, that time period, that director, that music, it's all very specific. And you kind of got to go back. You kind of got to go back to that. And they didn't. And then it's like, so I'm not seeing the actors I like. They're barely in these movies. And when they're in the movies, they're wildly out of character. You have these new characters flying the Millennium Falcon. Chewbacca's in the background eating catering. What the fuck you doing? Like, why do I want to see this? When C-3PO says to the new kids, I just want to see my friends again. What friends? You've never spent any time with these people.
Yeah. Well, they do say that, this is C-3PO is the only one that's in all 9 movies.
Yeah. Well, no, R2-D2 is in all 9 movies.
Right, but it's still it's not the same guy in this. It's not.
Oh, yes.
Kenny Baker, I think, is not in this last one, right?
Yes, you're right. He was already dead. They should do it. They should give him a podcast. Anthony Daniels. He would, the stories he probably has to tell.
Right. Especially since as a robot, I'm sure there probably were moments where he was just walking around on set and people didn't realize that he was a guy in there.
Yeah, no, he's probably had some, because he's been, even like, I think the guy who played Chewbacca wasn't in this one.
Yeah, there's a different Chewbacca guy.
Different Chewbacca guy. Yeah. That's why, like, the Chewbacca, I was like not feeling this Chewbacca. I'm like, hey, come on. I did like the Ewoks cameo. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that I'm looking for something. I like this. I like the 2 seconds the Ewoks were on camera.
Yeah. Listen, I liked the music. I thought that the music was great.
How can you go wrong with John Williams?
And there is, in the making of the movie, they show this whole scene where John Williams is in the movie as well. They actually have a scene with John Williams.
Oh, which scene is he in?
When they go to the place that they bring C-3PO to erase his memory.
Yes.
He's like in one of those. He's like a an engineer that he's like at behind some bar or whatever, and he's like cleaning stuff, and they walk up and he gives like an eyebrow raise or whatever.
That's nice because he's never been in any of these, huh?
And J.J. Abrams goes out to point that the little area that John Williams' character is working in has all these like knickknacks and everything around him. And he said that John Williams has been nominated for best for an Oscar for best music 50 times.
Yeah.
So there are 50 items around him, and each one represents one of those movies. So there's like a giant hook, and then there's like all these little things around him that represent other movies that he's made.
You know what'd be great if they put that much thought into the movie?
I know it would be, wouldn't it?
It would be like okay, you know that thought you put into having 50 things around John Williams? Why don't you put that fucking thought into the plot, you fucking idiots? Like, Jesus Christ. It's like, first of all, I didn't even notice he was in the movie. I've seen it 3 times. I didn't even notice anything behind. So you put all this work into something not a lot of people see.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where his head's at. And it's
well,
like,
that is what this whole movie was. They put all this thought into like these giant set pieces, but not into the writing.
Yeah.
Not into the script. I think, and then to have Carrie Fisher die before they started shooting, so they had to scrap what they had written. I mean, who knows if that would have made any more sense, but it's clear that The Last Jedi really threw a monkey wrench into the planning on whatever J.J. Abrams had in his mind of what these movies would look like when he was making Force Awakens, out the window with Last Jedi.
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be the guy from Jurassic World that was going to do the 3rd movie, and I heard what he wanted to do. He wanted to do a thing where Rey is like, Rey merges the good and dark side, and there's just gray, and she becomes the first gray, and the final battle is her and Kylo in a Jedi temple. You don't see Leia, you don't see Han, you don't see a lot of the old characters. It's just all about the new people, and they said no way because they wanted to be more fan friendly. But he said, I had to take the beats from Last Jedi. And the beats from Last Jedi where Rey now has to go fucking stop Kylo Ren. You know what I mean? Like, that's the beat that you left me with. That's the only story I could tell. And I felt like, because they wanted to go back to, the 8. I felt like this felt very much like, we just want this to be 1984 again. Like, I mean, the vibe from this movie, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And Last Jedi leaves you with not a lot of places to go, story-wise. Really, the only place to go is you got to stop Kylo Ren. And it felt like this movie spent most of its running time getting out of the wall that Last Jedi put it in, rather than naturally going where Last Jedi left it.
Right.
So it makes actually all 3 movies worse.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to believe that there may have been a worse version of this movie. But
yes, yeah. But I also blame. This is what I would have said. Like at the when fucking Ryan Johnson and handed me the script for Last Jedi, I would have been like, all right, what is part 3 about then? Because you've literally left us nowhere to go. So what are we doing for part 3? What would you do? I
mean, I can't believe that they would make Force Awakens without at least a general outline of what the whole trilogy was going to look like.
I cannot believe. I mean, every fucking story that Lucas tells us, he wrote an outline, started writing script, and it's like, this is and I don't even know if this is true or not. Maybe he's just full of shit. I don't care, but this makes sense. This is way too much for one movie. I'm going to take this little part in the middle and make one movie out of it.
Right.
And I mean, but he had an outline. He had a vague outline.
I mean, the biggest problem with the prequels is that he didn't have anybody telling him no. He had too many yes men around him.
Did you ever see it?
Whereas, have you heard the stories about, when he made the original Star Wars, when he made the first Star Wars movie, he had a screening of it with all of his other director friends, Spielberg and Scorsese and Coppola and Brian De Palma. Brian De Palma was like, okay, this Force stuff you're talking about, nobody knows what you're talking about. It's stupid. Brian De Palma helped him refine some of the ways that he explained what the Force was to make it palpable and relatable. When he got the music is when it all came together. Like, there's so many ways that he almost fucked up the original
and
movie.
Didn't his wife also tell him some stuff like this is dumb and stuff? His wife at the time.
Yeah, like the first screening that he showed to his friends without there was no music, there was no special effects yet, but they were all like, "Ooh, this is going to be bad," and they helped him with the parts that were that didn't work. You know, Spielberg was like, I get it, but it's not there yet, and they helped him figure it out. Spielberg is the one that got John Williams
Yeah.
on board, and so I think the prequels suffered from not having that level of collaboration and that kind of trust in other people to tell that story. And I felt the problem with this series is that you cut them out entirely, and that you just have too many. It's too much movie by committee in this
Yes,
one.
and too much like we need to do this, we need to do that,
Right.
rather than be like, okay, doesn't matter how many Asian actors we get, doesn't matter if a character's gay or not. What is the story? What are we trying to call? How do you want to start? How do we want this to end?
Right.
What are these three movies about? And instead they're like,
all right, we have we're going to use outtakes from The Last Jedi, and how many other Jedis do we have?
Yeah, well, I'm saying before as soon as they greenlit 7, 8, 9, there should have been that discussion.
Yeah.
Why are we making these movies? And there never was. They just made them to make them. And J.J. Abrams, and this is all his stuff. I mean, this was the case with Lost, Alias. He has this problem from the beginning of time. He's great at the first sentence. So I can walk up to you. I can start a Spider-Man movie. The next Spider-Man movie. I can start with it. Uncle Ben's not dead, and he's working for Hitler. and then you're natural. Well, how did that happen? And why?
How is Hitler still alive?
And how is Hitler still alive? Yeah. Hey, but J.J. Abrams never has an answer for that. You can come up with anything like that. You can come up with 9/11 was actually done by H.G. Wells, and then just walk away. That's okay, but what the fuck? That sounds interesting. How does that happen? What makes it work? And then when you go through the mechanics, you'd be like, oh, so when you like come up with like, all right, the Empire's back. It's now called the First Order, and there's a guy named Snook in charge. Great. How'd that happen? Why are they called the First Order? How did Leah lose everything? Why did the son go evil? And he doesn't have those answers. So it was up to these other people. He just doesn't. He never has a good follow through. And that's what all of this. Lost is great. We're on an island. There's a smoke thing. One of us used to be crippled. Now we're not. Like, great. And they never really gave satisfactory answers to why all that. It's, you can't have a mystery with all unless you have the answer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but that's ultimately the problem that these movies suffer from. I mean, I think Force Awakens is still watchable. It still has its moments.
Oh, I really dislike it. I was having a hard time watching it for this. Yeah. I mean, Solo's pretty bad as well.
Oh yeah, Solo's bad. I didn't like
Solo. Doesn't feel like Star Wars. These movies, as bad as they are, still kind of feel like Star Wars, just done wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm hoping they don't screw up this Kenobi series too badly.
How is Boba Fett? I still haven't seen
it. It's okay. Again, a lot of fan service, and it moves very slowly. And the best episodes are the ones with Luke Skywalker and Grogu and Rosario Dawson. So,
okay, all right. Well, there you go. Okay, yeah, I gotta watch it because I still haven't seen it.
I'll tell you, what's his name? The actor that plays Boba Fett, his emergence on that, at the end of The Mandalorian, like that scene where he shows up was exciting. Like, oh my God, fucking Boba Fett. And then they did the series and it's like, okay, well, they didn't really do much with him.
You're like, oh my God, Boba Fett. You're like, oh Jesus, here's Boba Fett.
I mean, the problem with that is, and I'll say this, The Mandalorian is such a mysterious figure, and Boba Fett, you pretty much know everything that you need to know. You don't need, there isn't any mystique about him. Who cares? Yeah. He was in the original trilogy for like 11 minutes. He dies in like the most ho-hum manner, like no fanfare whatsoever. He's just like knocked on the back and into the Sarlacc pit, and that's it. And they show you how he digs his way out of there, but like, whatever. That's not a part of the story that anybody cares about.
I think the problem with Boba Fett is that when the toy came out, everyone and their mother in the 80s, that is, had a huge, great backstory for him, wanted more of him. The comics did more of him. The comics, the novels, the video games got way into him, and then Lucas kind of handcuff the character, but like, oh yeah, it's a clone of Jango Fett, and also all the clone troopers are clones of Jango Fett. So it's like now there's you kind of like you can't cast a good actor as Boba Fett. You got to just keep this guy as Boba Fett, you know?
Yeah. I thought that I didn't think he had as intimidating or cool as cool of a walk as the Mandalorian either. He walks like a middle-aged man.
Yeah, so yeah, I gotta eventually. I will watch it pretty soon. I've got to do it. And,
The music is great. Again, the music for
yeah,
it.
the theme is I have someone did a remix of the theme, and I listen to that when I'm at the gym sometimes.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, so you know what? Star Wars getting great music. But what I love about The Mandalorian, it's not John Williams-esque. It's completely different, but it's still Star Wars, which I can't believe they pulled that off.
It is interesting. Again, going back to Rise of Skywalker, listening to watching the making of documentary, John Williams talks about how, and this is true. I can't think of anybody else that might have been able to do something like this, who has made 9 movies with the same kind of themes, and he's been able to build on these musical themes and incorporate the different elements. So I'm really intrigued by his process of building these musical themes, and having them evolve with the characters. And I'm really impressed that he's like the one guy that has like a nice through line for all 9 movies that didn't fuck it up. His part of it,
because everyone else sure did. So I'm just glad to be out of this, because when I got to the newer movies, I mean, they were so long to rewatch for this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. This is like killing me, because they stink. And
yeah, I mean, you know, have you read the Hero's Journey, the Joseph Campbell
no,
Hero with 1,000 Faces?
No. It's good, huh?
It's really good. It breaks down about, you know, how we tell stories, how we, you know, relate to stories, the elements that are, you know, they say that there's like, you know, only 5, what is it? Like there's only 10 stories ever told.
Yeah.
You heard that?
Yes, I did hear that. Yep.
So, you know, the Hero with 1,000 Faces is really all about how human nature seeks these types of stories and how we connect to the elements of these stories, even when, you know, when it's not as linear as it is written down, you know, the way he explains it. But it's very well explained. And I think that, you know, George Lucas he's been pretty unabashed from the get that, you know, he stole that idea. That a lot of movies use that same kind of formula when you have a hero. So I think the fact that they abandoned a lot of that structure in this sequel, in this
movies,
yeah, it's just makes it hard to connect to, I think, because it's just so all over the place, and they introduce all of these story elements that they never come back to, all these loose ends that they never tie up.
The Knights of Red, who were like supposedly they were students that, you know, he took students of Luke's Knights of Red. How come no one wants to redeem them? How come?
I don't know. If you want at the end of The Last Jedi, they all left to go do a dance recital, I think. You know,
he murders all his friends. Fucking. I mean, they never really explained the Knights of Red. It's just a lot, and it's over. What do you think? Before we get out of here, what do you think the future of the franchise is?
Well, I hope. I'll tell you what I hope, and then I'll tell you what I think is actually going to be. I think my hope is that they start, if they're going to do, you know, they're gonna beat all of these characters to death. But I would like to see them expand their vision to a period of time and a family that isn't this Skywalker saga. Let's there's a universe of characters and stories you could tell, but they're so concerned with this 120-year period.
Yes.
And these 8 people, like, come on, there's a lot of other shit we could be talking. Show me a movie about Bill Burr's character from The Mandalorian, or, you know, anybody, you know, I don't know, a Knights of the Old Republic movie. I'd like to see that. Go really far back, you know. I don't see why they can't do that. Unfortunately, they're going to just, you know, they're going to keep making movies about this 20-year period forever and ever until they have until everybody's dead. You know, I'm hopeful that this Kenobi series is decent. Everyone's all excited that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are back. Nobody's excited about Hayden Christensen except for Ewan McGregor. It seems. I don't know why anybody would be excited about Hayden Christensen.
Also,
I want some fucking James Earl Jones in there.
me
I want
too.
to hear James Earl Jones doing the voice of Darth Vader.
Mhm.
I don't want to hear a Hayden Christensen version of Darth Vader, which is what we're gonna get. I'm pretty sure. Or he's
I
going to be
want-
or he's going to be fighting half the movie without his helmet on.
Apparently, it's a stuntman in the suit most of the time.
Okay.
It's not him. It's not him in the suit. I hope the story doesn't break the time. Like C-3PO getting built by Anakin. I hope
Right.
this story enchants Obi-Wan, and because they're gonna they're getting in contact with each other again, Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, and I hope it makes sense. I hope
It's not.
I don't know. We'll see.
I don't think it's going to make sense. It probably won't make sense. I don't know. He's been hiding out on Tatooine from the time at the end of the Revenge of the Sith until the beginning of the New Hope. So I don't know what else he would be doing.
Well,
and the fact that Darth Vader,
he has to leave, because if Darth Vader knows he's on Tatooine, he would have been like, "Oh, that ship with the shit I need is going right towards my old enemy. I better go fucking get it," instead of sending troops.
I never understood why they had Luke hiding out on Tatooine in the first place. Like, you don't think Darth Vader would check there? That's where he grew up.
Yeah, well,
He wouldn't go check his own home. The last place you look, I guess. I don't know. How can you hide somebody? Then you don't even change his last name.
That is true. Yes, they didn't change his last name.
Like, he's Luke Skywalker. Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, whatever. That's not their last name.
Yeah,
Are they their last name?
What?
Was that their last name?
No, Aunt Beru and the other one weren't Skywalker. But why keep his last name Skywalker?
Right.
Maybe they'll explain it, and maybe they'll explain it. Maybe like Darth Vader forgot his last name. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're playing around with that. That's the whole first episode of the Kenobi series, is them arguing about the name of the baby.
Jordon, where can people find you on social media?
Well, you can find me at Beatnik Nudnik on the Instagram. I'm also at Where's the Grief, where you can find out all about my podcast, at Where's the Grief on Twitter and Instagram. You can go to where'sthegrief.com and listen to all the back episodes of the podcast. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, we have a archive. We have a great episode with Jordon about Big Hero 6, which is a lot of fun. You should listen to that. Follow me on social media, Ray Gootz. Follow the podcast. Subscribe, Gootz Disney Pod. Follow on Instagram. Next week, we're starting a new season all about the Muppets. You like the Muppets?
Oh my God, I love the Muppets.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I need a break from lightsabers and Spider-Man. So we're doing the Muppet movie next week with Tracy Carnazzo.
Nice.
It's going to be a ton of fun. And we're doing all the theatrical Muppet movies. There's some TV Muppet movies. They're not on streaming or DVD. So I'm not going to go out of my way to I might cover those down the road. But we're going to do all the theatrical Muppet movies, from the Muppet movie to Muppets Most Wanted, that came out with Ricky Gervais.
That one was bad. I didn't like that one.
Disney has kind of ruined the Muppets. Did you ever try to watch the Muppets Disney Plus show?
The Muppet. Oh, I couldn't even get past the Great Muppet Caper. That's one of my favorites. That movie it has some plot holes in it, but man, the jokes in that movie are so great. So many great jokes.
I also love great Muppets Take Manhattan.
Oh,
the original trilogy, as always, is the best. So the original Muppet trilogy. I never saw. I saw Muppets Christmas Carol finally. I never saw Muppet Treasure Island or Muppets in Space.
I think Muppet Treasure Island was the last one that Frank Oz did.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, but I never saw Muppets in Space either. But Hulk Hogan's in it, I heard. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, but yeah, we'll be doing that. We're gonna go on a journey with the Muppets, and that'll be for the next few weeks. And then I'll let you guys know the direction the podcast is taking after that. But it's Muppet Mania, and it starts next week.
Waka waka.
Waka waka. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jordon. And Jordon, may the force be with you.
Thank you, buddy. Always. May the force be with you.
Thank you, bro.